Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the lab number LLT-001 LAB Lube, 1 ounce of PTFE superior friction fighting agent. If you have keyed really any lock or any locks, I suppose you will have run into this white sort of substance that you'll see in locks. It's obviously a lubricant for all applications where a superior friction fighting agent is required. Speaking about the use of lubricants when it comes to lock sets, first, will not mix with water or congeal and collect dust and dirt particles. Will not cake from moisture as graphite does. Graphite was your grandfather's lubricant, and it's still quite, effective. However, every lock manufacturer has a prescribed lubricant. Every lock manufacturer does. And, admittedly, if you're doing, Schlage and Kwikset residential locks, somebody will get in there and shoot some WD-40, which by all measure is the absolute wrong thing to use in all instances. And while it will work initially, it won't work long-term because it will collect dust, dirt, and debris, and causing that lock to really gum up. I've rekeyed some locks for clients where their cylinder just took actual force to turn because it was so gummed up on the inside. And you can use WD-40 to clean that material, wipe it thoroughly free of all of that you've used, but then use the lubricant that is prescribed by the manufacturer. So your Schlages and your Kwiksets, this is probably going to be just super fine. The issue, however, with other manufacturers, and most, they want you to use their lubricant. Well, are they in the business of selling lubricant? Kind of. Yeah, they are. They sell locks, they sell lubricant. But the real reason why you should use it is twofold. Number one, they've tested it with that lubricant. Number two, you violate your warranty should you have a problem if you're not using the right lubricant. And that sounds extreme, but consider high security cylinders. Consider, any of them, but the one that best comes to mind is a cylinder, the Medico, the biaxial, the M3, where you have pins that need to lift and rotate, okay? But there's a sidebar that has small nibs in them, and those nibs need to seat into those elevating and rotating pins. Those nibs are very small. If there's any dust, dirt, and debris inside of the small little dimpled holes in the side of the pins, that sidebar is not going to seat and your cylinder is not going to turn. Using the incorrect lubricant will lead to cylinder failure in that regard, absolutely. So, will this white style lubricant work in many applications? Yeah, of course. But use the one that's meant for that lock, especially, most absolutely when you're dealing with high security material. You've got Schlage finger pins in their Primus. You've got a check pin in the Everest. In Yale, you've got the discs that need to elevate to the proper position so that the sidebar can seat. Corbin Russwin is going to have interlocking pins. If you have any M-Heart, that's around and available to you. Much of the Corbin and Sargent platform will be quite familiar to you if you're familiar with Medico. Best has their Peaks, Cormax, small little moving parts that all need to intertwine together. ASA has side pins. Obloy would be a series of washers and flat discs that need to just simply rotate, which I don't really think you'd really need much lubricant in that at all. There are no springs involved in that. But regardless of the high security platform you're working on, absolutely stick with that lubricant. We sure do sell medical lubricant. We stock that to the point where that's what needs to be used. So let's switch to the screen view now, and let's take a closer look at some supporting documentation. Okay, this is indeed the item that we are here looking at. LLT-001, 1 ounce of LAB Lube. Polytetrafluoroethylene. Polytetrafluoroethylene powder. A dry white powder lubricant that will not cake up as graphite does. Superior friction fighting agent. Sold as each. When you buy one, we'll send you one. The SDS is here should you want to review that. Okay. The product catalog is here, and that's handy. Let's take our part number and copy it and take it with us when we go along. Let's do a find function for LLT-001, and there it is. A micronized powder lock lubricant that will not cake up as graphite does. Okay, used by most major lock manufacturers. I would agree. I bet that they do. This product catalog that's here is awfully handy. I believe it's the entire catalog, in fact. Yeah, it appears to be. This catalog is useful because it will take you on a tour through all of the tools by Lab. They are, I would imagine, the leading and likely largest manufacturer of pin tumblers, possibly in the world. Although I can't really speak for European manufacturing. Certainly in North America, Lab would have the majority of market share when it comes to aftermarket pins. I know for a fact that they manufacture pins for OEMs, etc. So if you're looking for, air quote, universal pinning kits, Lab would be the name most synonymous with those, although not the only name. Okay, so that catalog's pretty handy. On that link below this video here to the manufacturer's page, you can pull up not only all of the Lab products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, as well as a link to that product catalog, okay, as well as a link to their website. Let's wrap up this video on camera. When it comes to locksmithing tools, the name Lab will be quite synonymous with requirements that you'll have. Lab, as do other manufacturers of locksmithing tools, and then of course the OEM manufacturers, your Schlags, your Yales, etc. They all have their own kits and own material, but Lab will fit in very well when you're dealing with the requirement to work on locks that are not absolutely dependent on having an original kit for the reasoning. Maybe the crowning of the pin is not exactly correct with Lab, or the increments of the pin lengths in the Lab kits are not available in what you want to do. An example of that would be a Corbin Russwin master ring. If you're pinning master ring, you're not going to find all the lengths that are possible for you to run into. But Lab is a great Swiss Army knife. It works for many applications. A downside of Lab, and I believe you can order them non-colored, is that their pins are colored. So you don't really necessarily want to telegraph what pin length there is. If I have knowledge of the Lab pin kit and you're showing me the pin color is red, and I know I know whose lock it is and whose cylinder it is, I can narrow that down pretty quickly in terms of what possible options are in the cylinder plug for that pin tumbler, for that chamber. Anyway, not to get too far off the track, lubricant, you're going to need it, you want to use it, and this would be something quite necessary, required to have when you're pinning those typical sort of garden variety locks. That's your Quicksets, your Westlocks, your etc., Schlags, whatnot. Any questions on the LLT-001 1 ounce of Lab Lube or any other Lab product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.